Hello and thank you for joining us for another video in our Dance A to Z series. We've now reached the letter T, so we're going to talk about turnout. Dancers spend a lot of time trying to improve both the range and control of their turnout, and this relies on having a good range of movement at the hip joint and good strength and flexibility into the turnout muscles, many of which are situated in the buttock, deep to the gluteals. I'm going to run through a few exercises with you today just to help with the strength and the flexibility in this area. But first, just a word of caution for when you're working on your turnout at home, particularly when working at the bar. I see a lot of particularly young dancers striving to try and get that flat turned out appearance in first, but it's really vital to remember that the turnout control has to come from the hip joint and not from twisting at the knee and the ankle lower down the leg. I would suggest placing the supporting leg in first position on a straight knee and then joining the outer leg to that, the working leg, so that you have a nice symmetrical first position with equal turnout. Alternatively, you can start in a parallel position and rotate the legs out from the top at the hip, rotating on the heels, so again you have some symmetry in first. One thing not to do is to place the feet in a plie position in this flat turnout and then try and screw the knees straight from that position. This puts an awful lot of stress through the medial knee structures and can cause injury. So let's run through the exercises for today. Some of these you may have already been practicing as we have covered them in other videos, but they are very relevant to what we're talking about today. So let's start with the strengthener, and that one is the clam. We're going to come into a side lying position and making sure our heels, our hips and our shoulders are all in a nice straight line and stacked one on top of the other. We're going to have some light tension through our abdominal muscles throughout this exercise, and this stops the pelvis rolling back as we rotate the knee to the ceiling. You're keeping your heels together and then lift the top knee into a plie position. So you make a diamond with the legs. Hold that position for around 10 seconds just to activate the turnout muscles in the back of the hip, and then lower the leg back down to the start. Again, light tension through the abs, squeeze in the back of the hip and rotate that top leg, making sure not to roll back at the pelvis. Again, hold for around 10 seconds before lowering. And I would repeat this exercise a good few times until you start to feel a little bit fatigued into those muscles in the buttock. You could just take a couple of repetitions, or you might feel quite strong and be able to manage around about 10. And at that point, when you start feeling tired, switch to the other side. Once we've worked those buttock muscles to fatigue, it's important to stretch out the area. So I'm going to show you a couple of different positions that you can achieve this stretch. We'll start by laying on our backs and just bringing the legs into a figure 4 position. So we have the ankle of the leg that's being stretched across the top of the knee on the opposite side. Simply then bring your knees into your chest, making sure that you maintain the turnout in the leg that is being stretched. So in this case, my right leg. You can hold this position. If you feel a little more flexible, you can extend the opposite leg up to the ceiling. But it's important to try and relax into the stretch. You are going to be holding this for probably around about a minute, and you don't want to be tense whilst you're stretching. Alternatively, we can achieve the same stretch in the sitting position. I'll show you the other side just to even myself out. Again, across the ankle of the leg that is to be stretched, across the knee of the other leg, and simply sit forward. You can push yourself on your hands if you need to, or you can bring the opposite leg slightly closer towards your bottom. And again, hold this position. If this feels too comfortable, you can switch into a half lotus position and curl over the legs this way, or try and achieve a full lotus with a forward bend if you have that flexibility. Again, relax into the stretch and try not to hold any of the muscles too tense. One final variation to show you, again using the mat, is a yoga stretch called the pigeon. And if you pop your leg in front of you in a fourth position or an attitude, take the other leg extended behind you as straight as you can manage, and then just again curl forward over the front leg, and you'll feel a nice stretch through the buttock on that side. As with the others, relax and breathe into the stretch, and I would hold this again for 30 seconds to a minute. One final tip, if you're feeling a little bit tight into those muscles, is to use your spiky ball to get some good release. Again, we've been through this before in a previous video, but just as a quick recap, I would suggest you lay onto your back, put the ball under the fleshy bit of your bottom muscles, and then simply move the hip around with the ball in place. You'll be able to find tender areas, I'm sure. There's no particular right or wrong way of doing this release. It's just whatever works for you. And when you find a particularly tender bit, you might want to just hold that position just for a little while until you feel the muscle fibres start to relax off. Hopefully that's given you a few ideas of some things you can try yourself at home, and you'll soon be feeling much stronger and more flexible into those turnout muscles. If you found the content useful, please do like and share, and we'd be happy to receive any comments or feedback that you may have. I'm Sarah from Peak Physiotherapy, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.